she's a 15-time Canadian Country Music Award winner. Recently, we're talking about winning the coveted Entertainer of the Year award. Please welcome to On the Record, Tenille Towns. Good to have you.
It's so good to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. So
Thanks
Home to Me, of course, a video that we saw. This is featured on your train. It's your train track work tapes.
That's right.
This is something that you actually did on a train.
Wrote and recorded this whole project on a moving train that I lived on for 15 days. We got on the train in Montreal and we rode it all the way to Calgary. So it was like we played 65 shows in 15 days. Wow. And it looked like almost the Polar Express. Like we would roll into these communities and one of the box cars was a stage. And so the door would fold down and it became the stage where people would gather in the freezing cold. And it was a free show, but everybody who came brought a donation for their local food bank. So I was just getting to witness the best parts of the human spirit. And I felt so inspired. I was like, I have to write about this. Yeah. So we play, you know, sometimes 6 or 7 shows a day. Wow. And so in the mornings before we'd start or in between, I'd be running back to my little cabin room and writing songs about, seeing everybody's faces lighting up out there and how that felt. And I was just really inspired. So then we borrowed gear from the stage car and brought it back and used a couple laptops and used what we had to
Isn't it amazing
Can
technology
we record this?
that you can do that like that?
It's crazy.
This song, and pointing out some of the lyrics, wherever all these winding paths and railroad tracks may lead, you'll still be home to me. Now, people can take that, whether you be talking about a person, about your audience, about your fans. For me, I kind of really took it as your hometown of Grand Prairie, Alberta, Canada. That is a common theme of your love of home that kind of seems interwoven through your songs.
It is, for sure. I mean, I carry that spirit of like the people who believed in you first. Like that just kind of comes with you everywhere you go, you know? So that's definitely shaped me growing up in the kind of small town community feeling where everybody's just got each other's backs.
Talk about growing up there. What did your parents do?
Well, my dad ran a business working in the oil world, and he was doing it out of our garage, and my mom did the books in the kitchen. And so my brother and I grew up watching them work really hard at something my parents were both really passionate about. And we kind of watched that going, if you put your heart and soul into something, it's like anything is possible. So I grew up in the it's called Grand Prairie, and it really is that. It's like wide open spaces, so much blue sky, just room to kind of go get the world. Like you can be anything you want to be. That's what I feel like I was told my whole childhood, which I'm really grateful for.
For you, that came with music. How did you find your way? Were your parents musical? Were anybody in the family kind of lead you there?
No, my family is like, everybody gets down on the dance floor at the family weddings and loves to sing along, but very talented, shower singers, I would say. So
I love it.
But my grandfather had a guitar that was kind of tucked away in the closet. He used to play as a kid. And so I grew up, we all loved music, and I just wanted to sing. So I asked my mom for singing lessons when I was 5 years old. I have no idea why. I just thought that's what I needed to do. And it was just this thing that was kind of always in me. So my grandparents got me my first guitar when I was 14, and I started kind of figuring out which chords went together and pairing the chords with some of my journals that I'd been doing in school and with my poems and lyrics, and then I just really fell in love with the art of songwriting, and from there I started kind of visualizing this is it, this is what I want to do.
But looking at some of these pictures, you as a little girl, of course being from Canada, right? You cut your teeth on the ice.
Yes, I did cut my teeth on the ice. I sang.
Well, you had no fear. I mean, you seem did you just go out there and you just, no holds barred?
I did, honestly. Okay, well, my very first gig came because someone had seen me sing the national anthem. So my first gig was singing "O Canada" at our local hockey games, and I loved it. I went out there and did my thing, and then I heard there was a country music festival in town. I heard the promoter talking on the radio about the lineup, and so I came home from school and I looked up his name in the phone book, and I called him and I asked him if he could book me on the show. I think I was 10, and he answered the phone. He's like, "Oh, you're the O Canada kid. Yeah, let's get you to sing the anthem at the festival." And then the next year he booked me to play it with a full band. So that was my first gig came from singing O Canada.
And I heard that you actually put together your own tour too, that you went out and got sponsorships. I mean, people were barely getting to school on time. This is what you're doing.
Well, that was my plan, honestly, to convince my parents that I was really serious about music, because at the time all my friends were looking into colleges and applying, and I was like, I really just want to pour my whole heart and soul into music. My dad was a big believer in the Outliers concept of like 10,000 hours. And so I used that in my pitch. We sat down at the kitchen table and I was like, listen, I got to work on my hours. What if I hit the road and played for all these schools across Canada? So we spent 32 weeks in a motorhome driving from one side of the country to the other, playing for middle schools and high schools. And I got to wake up and do the thing I love every day and play music and get a taste of what it was like to go on the road, and figured out how to get it sponsored so we could put fuel in the motorhome to drive us from one school to the next.
That's amazing.
It worked. Yeah. I had so much fun.
A lot of artists right now going, can I hire you? Can you do that for me? The thing, were you doing covers at that time? Because you said you were putting your poems to music as well. And I heard a story when you were just 15 years old that you wrote a story about a girl whose father goes off to war in Afghanistan. And I said, you are not your everyday 15-year-old kid. That is amazing.
Thank you. I've always loved storytelling with music, and like especially things that move me. Like I wish I could have an understanding in it, or it's like, how can you have a conversation about someone who's just lost their dad serving overseas like that? Like I had to find a place to put my emotion about it, and music has always kind of been my safe place to do that. So I definitely started doing that from the beginning.
We're going to talk more about your songs that are so lyric driven. These are not just songs that you listen to in the background. They are, I'm going to get your attention kind of songs. Stay with us. A lot more with Tenille Townes when we come back. Welcome back to On the Record, hanging out with Tenille Townes. And there's a reason why this girl was nominated at just 17 years of age for her very first Female Vocalist of the Year nomination with the Canadian Country Music Awards. Of course, here you are. You have the support of your family. You're living back home, of course, Grand Prairie, that is Alberta, Canada. At one point, do you say, it is time to head to Nashville?
Okay, so I made my first trip when I was 14, and I came and wrote some songs and met some people, and then I just kept coming back as much as my parents would let me skip school and take me. And I knew I wanted to end up here at some point, so after we did that school tour, after I graduated high school, I was like, all right, this is the moment. So my dad helped me make the trip. We loaded up my little Tacoma and drove 45 hours from Grand Prairie to Nashville, and then it was like, all right, I'm digging in. Here I am. I got to figure out how to make this work because I don't want to have to drive 45 hours back home.
I don't want to make the drive, so I'm going to make it work.
No.
But to have the support of your family and go, okay, you're on your own.
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
That was a big thing. I mean, I remember we pulled up into town. It was like just going to the guitar stores or the Bluebird Cafe, and you're like, wow, like everything about this, everyone's so good here. It just inspired me, made me dig in and want to learn more.
So you did a little networking while you're here.
Yeah.
Getting your deal with Columbia Nashville, what was that moment? Was there a song? Was it a moment that kind of locked it in for you?
Well, it felt almost like an audition. It was terrifying sitting in, like, I went up to their, conference room, and I'm sitting, all the executives are like kind of staring at me, and I'm just sitting there playing my songs and hoping for the best. And it's like you put all this energy into taking the big shot and hoping it works out. And the president, Randy Goodman, put me on the spot and was like, something about your voice makes me think of Jeff Buckley. And he goes, can you do Hallelujah? And I was like, I haven't sang that song in so long. I used to sing it as a kid, but I took a deep breath and said a little prayer. It was like, may the words come to me. And I just went for it. And
that's amazing.
It was like a bit of an out-of-body thing. And then he was like, all right, you can't leave the room. We got to sign you right now. So that really was a cool moment. I'll never forget that.
Like, no matter all of the success that you continue to have, you don't forget about home. And as a little girl, you were, and when I say little, you're 11 years old, and you really took note of the homeless issue that was going on back home in Grand Prairie, so much so that you started Big Hearts for Big Kids and raising money. And that has been a staple, that has been a common thread throughout your entire life. Yeah. Talk about that, and what was it that really took hold of you that made you feel like you had to do something?
Well, I was just hearing that there were kids my age in my own hometown who were needing a safe place to sleep at night. And I think when you think about that, you think of maybe struggles far away on another side of the planet, right. But to think that it's happening in your hometown, I come from a small town, right. It was like, wow, what can we do to help? And so music is like my way to bring people together. And my mom would drive me after school to local businesses, and I'd bring my little sponsor letter in, and ask if they wanted to get a table or donate a silent auction item. And what I learned through this whole Big Hearts for Big Kids adventure is it's really crazy when you ask how many people will say yes. It's like you never know until you take the shot. And so many people were like, sign me up, I'll be there. And I witnessed what can happen when a group of people who believe in the same thing come together in a room. And I watched my hometown wrap their arms around the youth in our community who needed the support. And the night of our first fundraiser, the shelter had to close their doors due to lack of funding, which was kind of crazy timing. And we all looked around the room at one another and were like, all right, we got this. And that night they raised $30,000. And I was like, if this is what music can do, I'm in. And so we've kept it going every year, and it has grown so far beyond what I could have imagined it would be. And it's been over $2 million in 12 years of doing this event now.
That has to make you feel so great to be able to do something like that.
It's overwhelming to think about, and I just feel so proud to be a part of that and to know that music can help and that people caring about something, it's like it just starts with a small idea. You know, it's like if anybody out there is thinking of doing something, it seems like, oh, that's so crazy or so big or so daunting. It's like it just starts with the first small step, really. That's it.
And something like that, when I talk about your lyric-driven songs, Somebody's Daughter, you really highlight the homeless issue there. Talk about that song and how that came to you. Was it somebody specifically that you saw, or was it all your experience?
It was a combination of both of those things, but my mom came to visit me, and we were going furniture shopping for my apartment here in Nashville, and we took this exit off the interstate. We saw this young girl standing on the side of the road with a cardboard sign, and it was kind of one of those moments where you're just like, sitting in the car, and I'm like, how do I get to be here going shopping with my mom in this moment? And like, what kind of left turns and right turns happen in everybody's story? And sometimes those turns are so far beyond circumstance or control. It's just how it goes. And it was like, what's her story? What happened to her? So I wrote the song shortly after that trip.
Yeah, like I said, having a big impact on your hometown and all that you do, and your hometown gives back to you.
Yes,
I heard that,
they
you know,
do.
I like to talk to people about their Opry debut, and the night you debuted at the Opry, I always ask, did family come?
Oh,
well, not only did family come, friends came. Over how many people?
There were, I think, 140 of them. They filled a 737 airplane. They literally were joking all through the years of Big Hearts for Big Kids or any events we do in Grand Prairie. They were like, when you play the Grand Ole Opry someday, we are all coming. And they were not joking. They showed up. I was like, I went to the airport to greet them, and they all had shirts on that said the Grand Ole Opry debut, and they're coming down the escalator, and it was just like the wildest hometown hug anyone could have imagined. And to share that moment of stepping in that sacred circle, knowing that everybody from my hometown was there to take that in together, it was insane. I'll never forget that as long as I live.
I just want to know what happened after that performance. What was it like? Was there a party?
There was a party. They know how to have a good time, and we definitely did that. We went somewhere all together, and everybody had some drinks and some good times, and I got to hug everybody and thank them for making the trip.
I love it. Well, you're going to stick around because you're going to perform for us. That's why this amazing guitar is here. Stay with us. A lot more with Tenille Townes when we come back. Welcome back to On the Record. I'm Suzanne Alexander, coming to you from the famous Music Row area in Nashville, Tennessee, hanging out with Tenille Townes, an artist that definitely has an intense lyric-driven songs as far as your albums are concerned. And I wanted to point out when we were in commercial break, Masquerades, an album that, was it last year that you released that?
Yes, coming out of the shutdown.
Coming out of the shutdown.
Coming out of that time.
So, and that's interesting because the topics are pretty heavy, and I said there's a few collaborations on here, one of them being with Rabel. A lot of people at home may know who he is as well. The song I'm talking about is When You Need It. The transparency and the way you address heartache and loneliness, you don't leave anything left. I mean, you put it all out there, and I love that about you.
Thank you.
Is it hard to write that way, or do you feel like that's easier to do than talk about
it?
Oh,
100%. I was just going to say, this is so much easier than having a conversation about struggling with how you feel about some, you know, it was such a dark time. We were all feeling so isolated and alone, and being able to sing about it, that's way easier for me than talking about it, so.
There's a line in there that says you can make it through one bad night, you can make it through a million. And
So
I thought,
true.
my gosh, that speaks volumes.
That's a good reminder. I need that too.
Yeah, I think we all do, for sure.
Yeah.
Another guy that you collaborated with on the album, Breland, a song called Shared Walls.
Yes.
And I love that. It sounds like you could turn that into a movie, by the way.
Ooh,
People
I
fall
like
in
this
love and they share a wall in an
idea.
apartment building. I love that.
That's a great concept. Let's
Talk
make
about working
that.
with Breland.
He's incredible. I'm so glad he was up for being my neighbor on this song. He's just a joy to be around. He can do anything. Like his voice can just come with all these different styles, and it's always got this thread of like, it's Breland, which I love. So it was really cool to get to sing with him on this song.
I think Jersey, we talk about Jersey, they have Springsteen, they have Bon Jovi. You talk about Long Island, they have Billy Joel. You talk about Canada, they have Bryan Adams.
Yes.
You got to collaborate with Bryan Adams.
I did get to collaborate with Bryan Adams, which was a crazy story because I just randomly ran into him on a staircase. And then I had this idea, like this pipe dream thought of going, he's such an icon, he's been such an inspiration to me. I was like, what if we sang a song together someday? So I recorded a version of a song and I burnt it to a disc and I wrote him a letter out by hand and I sent it to him through FedEx. And I just kind of laughed at myself at the counter going, I'm just taking a shot in the dark and seeing if he'll sing on this. But I still can't believe he said yes.
I love it. Well, it's such a great song. And of course, more great songs. This project, your latest, called the Track Worktapes. 5 songs on this, and like you said, you wrote this while you were on a train moving train during the holidays, which is great. And I was hoping that you could play us a song. That's why we're standing here with this guitar.
I would love to.
Can you do Pieces of My Heart, because it really speaks to, I think, who you are and what you do.
Well, thank you.
You bet. Tenille Townes, everybody.
Let me sing this one for you. Oh, I wrote this song literally on this moving train, thinking about just being a traveling spirit. So here we go. I grew up thinking you work hard to be a doctor or a lawyer. Get married, have some babies, plant your roots down in the ground. But I turned all that upside down. I'm in a traveling band, playing music on a stage. We run down the highway in a van, see where the dream takes us today. Keep leaving pieces of my heart in all these towns that feel like home. I can't help it, I'm a traveler. It's in my veins, it's in my bones. I'm not afraid to stop, it's just that I was born to go. I know that I see you again down the road. Fit my whole life in a suitcase, and I carry my guitar and all these songs inside my head. They are my flashlight in the dark. Bring me back when I drift too far. There's so much I wanna see, so many places left to go. I don't wanna miss a thing, so I keep watching out the window, yeah. I keep leaving pieces of my heart in all these towns that feel like home. I can't help it, I'm a traveler. It's in my veins, it's in my bones. I'm not afraid to stop, it's just that I was born to go. I know that I see you again down the road. Keep leaving pieces of my heart in all these towns that feel like home. I can't help that I'm a traveler. It's in my veins, it's in my bones. I'm not afraid to stop, it's just that I was born to go. I know that I see you again down the road. Keep leaving pieces of my heart in all these towns that feel like home. Leave it up there on that hook, just hanging like a coat. So if you find it in your cold, well, put it on and say hello. I know that I see you again down the road. I know that I see you again down the road.
And this is why we love you. Track Worktapes, that is the name of the album. And I'm sitting there listening, and boy, like I said, you leave it all out there on the stage, on the page. That's who you are as an artist. And I have to ask you, with all the places that you've been, speaking of this song and leaving pieces of your heart out there, where has music taken you that you really kind of think back and go, man, that was a cool place to be?
Wow. I mean, honestly, every stage I walk, and being able to play the Grand Ole Opry, that was insane. Getting to get on a plane and travel across an ocean and playing in the UK, that's been so special to me. The way that home is kind of this universal feeling, you know, and I love that about country music. It's like, it doesn't matter what you open up your door and what your backyard looks like. I think when you listen to country music, you feel the essence of what that means to all of us. And it's been super special to me to be able to play on stages in Australia or Germany and Canada and here, and just looking out and being like, wow, we really are just all neighbors. It's a small world in a good way.
I have a feeling that you are not one to sit home. You like to
I do not sit well.
There's a song called, and I was talking about, there's a song on this project called Wheels, and I was like, literally, because I just felt like there was just so much hope and positivity, and Wheels really stopped me in my tracks, and I said, wait a sec. I literally stopped and had to sit and listen to the song because I thought, wow, staying up in the clouds, and I don't want to come off of this high. This, being on stage in front of an audience, that is it.
That's my favorite place to be. Yeah. That's my favorite high. It's like nothing else in the world, and I love it so much, and it really makes coming off of that high a very hard thing, and I'm glad I got to write about it with that song. That song is very truthful and honest to me. It was like, whew, I don't want it to ever end, ever.
I have a feeling that you're not going to ever want it to end when you get to open up for the one and only Stevie Nicks covering Landslide on this project. So that, I mean, I want to jump up and down for you.
Thank you. I am doing that constantly, thinking about this.
Have you ever played with her? Or,
no, this will be my first time, and I just grew up listening to her voice constantly, and this is such a surreal thing. We released this project covering Landslide, and shortly after that heard about this opportunity to go and open up for her.
Till the landslide brought me down.
I still can't believe that's a real sentence, truly.
We are so looking forward to all that you do, and of course the music continues. What a pleasure. Thank you so much for gifting us with your talents. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you. It's such a joy to get to talk to you, and truly an honor to be here today. Thank you for having me.
I love you guys, of course, for watching. Thank you guys so much for On the Record. Tenille Townes, be sure to check out her music wherever you stream yours. And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.